We are in Daniel chapter 9. This is probably the most complicated study in the book of Daniel. I hope you recognize all of these pictures that we've got here. There's some that we have seen as we have gone through the various chapters. Remember that Daniel was taken into Babylon as a young man. He was trained to be a leader. And he encountered some proud, ruthless kings, even early on. By the time we get to Daniel chapter 9, which is where we are in this study, Daniel would have been an old man. He was reading the book of Jeremiah, and he learned about 70 years. We studied that in our last study. We dealt with some history of the kings in 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles. We saw that Manasseh, one of the kings of Israel, was given full blame for the Jews going into captivity. That is the nation of Judah. Remember, the nation had split. After Solomon, they split. And half of them, not half, but most of them were called Israel, and the other half was called Judah. Israel never had a good king. Judah had a few good kings. And so Judah lasted about 100 years longer than Israel. That's the way it goes. But then Daniel was reading his Bible in our last study, and he was reading the book of Jeremiah. Now, I'm sure that was probably in the form of a scroll or something. I'm not sure exactly how he saw that. But it made Daniel go to prayer. And in that, he discussed with God the necessity for him to accomplish what he had promised through Jeremiah. Now, we in our study, we have seen, if I can get this to go. Oh, here we go. We have seen a number of things as we have studied, and I hope you're going to remember as you get through the book of Daniel what it is we've studied. Chapter 1, we saw that Daniel was taken to Babylon. He purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. Then in chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had a dream, and he wanted that dream told him and wanted the dream interpreted. Daniel was able to do that and tell him about the world empires. Chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar shook his fist at God's proclamation of the world empires. He was going to last forever. Anyway, chapter 4, we saw Nebuchadnezzar's second dream. Nebuchadnezzar would have been older by this time, and he actually went insane for 7 years. That's what the dream was about. And after that 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar gave us a testimony proclaiming God. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him in heaven one of these days. Anyway, in chapter 5, we saw that the Medo-Persians had taken over chapter 5 was before they took over. They took over that night. But chapter 5, we saw the handwriting on the wall. Belshazzar had given a party. He was a proud king, and he had taken the cups that were taken out of the temple in Jerusalem and was showing that he was king. Anyway, then chapter 6 is where the Medo-Persians had taken over, and we saw that there was a proud king there, and Daniel slept with the lions. Chapter 7, we saw Daniel's first vision. Remember, the initial vision was from Nebuchadnezzar. It was a dream, and he dreamed about all the world kingdoms. Daniel's first dream, he dreamed about the same kingdoms that Nebuchadnezzar had dreamed about, but gave us a little more perspective on what kind of kingdoms these would be. Anyway, then chapter 8, we saw Daniel's second vision, and it was of only two of the kingdoms, the kingdom of Medo-Persia and the kingdom of Greece. Now, Daniel was still in the Babylonian Empire at the time of these two visions. But then in chapter 9, which is where we are today, we've had a couple of studies there so far in chapter 9. We saw that Daniel was reading the book of Jeremiah and saw that Israel was supposed to be in Babylon for 70 years, and that time was about up. Anyway, let's go from there to remembering our key verse, Daniel chapter 2, verses 21 and 22 says, And he, that's God, and he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom to the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. This was where Daniel had prayed to know the dream of Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel was given the information as to what Nebuchadnezzar's dream was all about and how to interpret that dream. And again, it was about all of the world empires, all the way from Babylon out beyond our time. So, we dealt with some history there in, as we mentioned, 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles. Excuse me, I went the wrong way. Anyway, we saw that Daniel was very concerned, and concerned not for himself, but concerned that God would not be honored by not taking Judah back to the land. But there was a big problem. The 70 years were about up that Daniel had read in Jeremiah that they were to be in Babylon, and that time was about up, but there's a big problem, and that was that Israel hadn't really repented of their sin. We saw that Daniel was concerned that God was not going to send the people back. Let's read some stuff in the law to see why Daniel might have been concerned. Let's go to Leviticus 25, starting with verse 2. It says, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye have come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyards, and gather the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. Now, Daniel knew, because Jeremiah told him, that they were commanded to let the field rest. Remember, they were commanded to celebrate the Sabbath every week. That is Saturday. They were to not work. Then the Lord said he wanted a Sabbath every year, not every year, every 7 years, he wanted a Sabbath for the land, that the land could refresh itself. So from there, let's go to the next chapter in Leviticus and see what he said there. Ye shall make you no idols nor graven image, neither rear up a standing image, neither shall ye set any image of stone in your land to bow down unto it, for I am the Lord your God. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Now remember, this is right after chapter 25, where he's told him there's a Sabbath year. There's a Sabbath day once a week, and there's a Sabbath year every 7 years. So they had not done that for 70 years, and that's the reason of 70 Sabbath years. And so that's the reason Daniel was concerned. Those two verses come right together. First of all, you're not to make an idol. And second, you were not to miss a Sabbath. Well, they'd missed both. And they were violating both. And we saw that the book of 2 Chronicles emphasizes the sabbatical omissions for the reason that they were there for 70 years. Let's go over to 2 Chronicles and just pick that up, because for the most part, people remember that they were in Babylon because they had set up idols and worshipped idols. And Manasseh had even offered one of his children in sacrifice to the idol Molech. Horrible things. Anyway, 2 Chronicles chapter 36 and verse 21 says, to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah. 2 Chronicles remembers Jeremiah too. To fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land hath enjoyed her Sabbaths. The land hath enjoyed her Sabbaths. That's every 7 years. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept the Sabbath to fulfill 70. Now, score is 20, so 70 is 60, and 60 plus 10 is 70 years. So this is telling why Israel or Judah needed to be in captivity for 70 years, as Jeremiah had prophesied. Anyway, I asked the question, did Daniel have reason to worry here about not returning the Jews as the Lord had promised, because they had not repented? So let's go back to the book of Leviticus again. It says, and if ye will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you for 7 times for your sins. 7 times more for your sins. Again, did Daniel have reason to worry? So we had Daniel's prayer, and let's go back and remember that. We're still reviewing here for just a minute. It says, O Lord, hear, O Lord, forgive, O Lord, hearken and do. Defer not for thine own sake, O my God, for thy city, that's Jerusalem, and thy people, that's Judah, are called by thy name. For thine own sake. For thine own sake. Because you promised that we would be in captivity for 70 years. And now you've told us that 7 times 70. Oh, my. Well, let's pick up from Daniel's prayer and get God's answer to what we have here. And we're going to have a mathematical problem to solve. And I tell you, you're going to have to stick with me very close. This will be fun, but it'll be tough. Don't let your brain shut off. We're going to have an adventure of X and Y's. You ever taken algebra? Well, we're going to have an algebra problem here. But I hope that we do a little better than Gabriel, because Gabriel didn't get it across to Daniel very well. And we're going to talk about 70 weeks. And you'll see why. you can hear many interpretations if you listen to various preachers. I want you to please evaluate each of them, including me. Evaluate what it is I've got to say here. But we're going to look at this from an outline of the matter and the vision. We're going to calculate the 70 weeks, and we're going to see the fulfillment. So let's go to verse 20 in Daniel chapter 9. It says, "And while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplications before the Lord my God for the holy mountain," that is Jerusalem, "and holy mountain of my God." Verse 21. "Yea, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation." Gabriel had his wings. By this time, the temple had been totally destroyed. There were no sacrifices going on, but Daniel remembered this was the time that the evening sacrifice was to be offered. I wonder if you have any traditions that you remember. It's time for those things to happen. I remember Christmas and Thanksgiving. We always had those with our family. We had a tradition also of going to church every Sunday. Sunday morning and Sunday night, we went to church as a family. When I moved, I had to immediately find a church so that I could keep this tradition going. And, I wasn't saved until I moved to the land of fruits and nuts. And I had to find me a church right away. And as I got into church, then I got the message and got saved. Verse 22, Daniel 9, says, "And he informed me," that is, Gabriel informed Daniel, "and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications, the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore, understand the matter and consider the vision." God knows before these things happen. Gabriel was prepared. This is like a race. On your mark, get set. And then he's got, as soon as Daniel starts to pray, he's got the word go. And that's what he does. Gabriel goes, and he now he's prayed about this. Now he's got the opportunity to understand what God is going to do and so forth. Anyway, he tells Daniel that he's greatly beloved. And he's told us that we're greatly beloved also. That's a good position to be in. But let's reread what Gabriel was saying. It says, "At the beginning of thy supplications, as soon as you started to pray, the commandment came forth, go! And I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore, understand the matter and consider the vision." We've got two things that we've got to consider here. We've got the matter and we've got the vision. So Daniel had been praying about the 70 years, and that's the matter that we're going to be dealing with. But he was interrupted by the flutter of wings, Gabriel's wings. And in chapter 8, Daniel had received instruction from Gabriel, and he didn't comprehend it at all. Chapter 9, Gabriel is given a second chance to get these things across to Daniel. And that starts with the prophecy from Jeremiah. That's the matter. of the Jews being in captivity for their 70 years. Now, the vision, I believe, is the vision that goes from chapter 2, chapter 7, and chapter 8. They're all connected. They're all telling us somewhat the same thing. I want you to remember Daniel 8:27, where Daniel had not understood the vision, but Gabriel is coming back now the second time to try to give Daniel the information where he can understand it. Anyway, let's move on to verse 24. It says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgressions, to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Daniel was concerned about 70 years. And he read back over there in the book of Leviticus, I'm sure he was aware of it, read back over there that Israel could be punished 7 times for their sin. Now, 70 years he's looking at, and now he's told that 70 weeks. Now, this word weeks is not the normal word for 7 days. It simply means sevens. And Daniel, I'm sure, remembered the law there of 7 times the punishment. The word weeks here, again, just means 7. So he's been told that there's 70 years, and now he's telling there 70 times 7. But Daniel was praying about the 70 years, and Gabriel was trying to get Daniel to understand a lot beyond Jeremiah's prophecy. Yes, God was going to return the Jews to the land after 70 years, but there's a lot more that God's going to do with the Jews beyond those 70 years. Let me tell you, there is a strong push in some areas of Christianity for the church to replace Israel. God shows here in this passage that Israel is going to be part of what he's dealing with all the way out to the end of the world. So don't you try to replace Israel. Anyway, he's told us here in this verse that there are 70 groups of 7 years that are determined upon the people of Israel to do a whole list of things. And remember that this came during the time of Belshazzar, the king of Babylon. As we come into chapter 9, this is the first year of Darius, the king of Medo-Persia. So it's not happening, the 70 is not happening during the time of Babylon. Anyway, Daniel had by this time 11 years to ponder what Gabriel had told him the first time. Remember, that happened in the 3rd year of Belshazzar's reign. We are now in the reign of Darius, the Medo-Persian king. I know when I pray, I want an immediate answer. I don't want to wait 70 years or 70 times 7 to get my answer. Let's back up and remember in Daniel chapter 2 where we are. It says Daniel chapter 9, verse 2. says, "In the first year of the reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of years whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolation of Jerusalem." Excuse me. This is telling us when all of this happened. It's not back there in the Babylonian Empire. We are in the Medo-Persian Empire. Daniel had been speaking in prayer about 70 years, and many will claim that the Hebrew year is 360 days, and that works out fine for the history of this. Some get that from the book of Genesis, where the Lord gives us some dating that gives us 7 months of 30 days each. But I'm going to give you a little different thing that I think is a little more comprehensive than that. Anyway, the years that Jeremiah was talking about would be our normal year, the 365 days. But the Hebrew calendar is a mess. The average year, the normal year, is 354 days. But if it comes out that Rosh Hashanah is going to come out on a bad day, then they can move it one day forward or one day back. So 353 or 355 could be the thing. And then they have to look at Passover. It has to come out right in the spring. And so they wind up getting the lunar months set up on the, reset to a solar cycle by adding a whole month, a whole 30 days. Now, they do this 7 times out of 19 years. Now, I think some politician or some tax accountant or something like that set up their calendar, because it's a mess. Anyway, we know from what we have read there that Gabriel was telling Daniel something about time. There's 70 weeks, 7 groups of 7, but there is another measure of time, and that time again, it's going to be the 360 days, but we're going to develop that as we go through this. But let's go to Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. It says, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change the times and the laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time, times, and dividing of times." Now, this is talking about a little horn. And it's giving us some times here. That's what we're looking at in this. Time, times, and dividing of times. So keep that in mind as we go a little further. Let's go to verse 27 in chapter 9. We're building here so that we know how long a week is. Now, this is important to this calculation. So Daniel 9:27, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week." Here we've got the week that we're talking about here. "And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate." Now, the week that we're talking about is the same as this time that we're talking about, that we just saw in the previous verse. Now, the final week is going to be 7 of the 360, and we're still developing that 360, but it's only half of that week. The time times, it's 2 times, time plus 2 times plus a half a time. That's 3.5. And there is good biblical scripture to establish that. We don't have time for all of it today, but in the middle of that week, we've got this time, times, and a half a time. So the week is 7, and the thing that is going to be going on there with the problem starts in the midst of the week. So let's go back to chapter 7 and remember what we read there. It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change the times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand, that is, the Jews are going to be given into his hand, until a time and times and dividing of times. That's 1 time, 1 week, not 1 week, 360 day period. 2 times, that's 2 times the 360. So we've got a total of 3. That's 1 time and 2 times, and then a dividing of times. So that's 3.5 weeks. That's in the middle of the week. So I hope you good Bible students recognize that this thing of times, and dividing of times is listed many times both in the Old and in the New Testament. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish how long this week is. There's 70 weeks, 70 groups of 7. Different pastors develop it different ways. Please follow me. I know it's complicated. All right, let's go back to Daniel chapter 7 and remember some of what we studied there. It says, and I came near unto them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of things. These great beasts, which are 4, remember we've got 4 empires that are going to be ruling over Israel, and only 4. Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. That's all. And remember, we didn't have a nation Israel until 1948, after these 4. These great beasts, which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, and even forever and ever. This is where we saw in the first vision. I'm trying to pull all these things together, and I know time is such that it's hard to get it all together at once. But remember, there was a stone cut out without hands that was cast down, hit the feet, scattered the rest of the image, and the saints of the Most High took over. So this is saying that there are going to be 70 times 7 weeks, 70 weeks that all of this is going to be accomplished at. So we've seen the 4 kingdoms. I want to go to the New Testament. I know you see that already. It says, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, and that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Now, I hope this is starting to ring familiar to you, that we got a Bible that has things consistent all the way through. And Daniel chapter 7 presents it. And Daniel chapter 9 is saying that we got 70 groups of sevens times. And we're trying to prove that time is 360 days. Anyway, both of these have to do with the end times, and remember, Israel finally wins. So let's just pick up at verse 6 here again. It says, "And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days." We've got this time, times, and half a times, and now we've got 1,260 days. That's 1,260. A score is 20, 3 score 60. 1,260 days. That's the time, times, and half a time. Time, times, and half a time. So recognize that Revelation 12:14 that we just read is the same event that we're reading about here. Let's go there. It says, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, and to a place where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a time from the face of the serpent. Now, this is time, times, and half a time. That's equal to 1,260 days. Same event, 2 verses. One says it's for a time, times, and half a time. The other one says it's for 1,260 days. 3 score 60. So let's start to calculate here. I hope you're staying with me. Stay with me. Anyway, time, times, and half a time, that's 3.5. Look at how we have defined it here. Oops. Let's back up. How do I back up? Here we go. We've got the time plus 2 times plus a half a time. We're calling time an X. It's good for algebra students. That adds up to be 1,260 days. Now, if you take that and you combine that, 1 plus 2 plus a half is 3.5 equals 1,260. If you divide by the 3.5, the time that we're talking about is 360 days. 360 days. That comes from our 1,260, which is the 3.5 years, and those years are 360 days. Okay? So, 7 times is, Daniel is telling us, or Gabriel is telling us, that they're going to be 70 weeks. Now, the 1,260 is a half a week. So a full week is going to be 2 times that, or 25/20. I hope you follow me. I hope you're with me on these. Anyway, from there, let's go back to the book of Revelation and verse 1 of chapter 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, and a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Now, I hope you're good Bible students and you think back and you remember who we're talking about. This woman is a picture of Israel. Israel had 12 sons. Those are the ones that it's talking about, the 12 over there. The sun and the moon are, that was, remember, this was the dream of Joseph. The sun and the moon were Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, and the mom, that is who we have represented here. The father and mother and the 12 brothers of Joseph. The 12 altogether, including Joseph. And remember, they went into Egypt, and that's where they actually did bow to Joseph as he described. Let's read verse 1 and go on into verse 2. It says, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered." And verse 3. "And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head." Now, I hope you get these connected. Oh my. Remember the beast that he didn't give us a description of. And here he's giving us a description of it being a dragon. Remember, it had 10 kings. 3 were plucked up by the root, and 1 took over as a little horn. Remember this beast, and please connect it together there to the book of Revelation. Let's go back to verse 3. It says, "And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads." There were 7 of the original kings that were left after the 3 were plucked up. So we've got 7 kingdoms, and 10 horns. I don't know how all that works out, but the 7 crowns upon his head, and 3 were plucked up by the root, replaced by 1. Let's go to verse 4. "And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven, and cast them down to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born." Now, who would that child be? Let's read the next verse. "And she brought forth a male child, who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne." There's only one that is to rule the world. That's Jesus. He will rule the world with a rod of iron. And I ask, who is he? But I've already told you who he is. Let's go ahead and let's read verse 5 again and go on into verse 6. "And she brought forth a male child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days." Now, this is paralleled in the book of Matthew. says, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. We haven't gotten into that week yet, but we'll get there next time. Anyway, understand it's part of the 70. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. This is exactly what we were talking about there in the book of Revelation. It's what we're talking about over in the book of Daniel. All of these are connected together. And where is the wilderness that they're going to flee to? This is Israel or Judah. It's actually all of Israel by that time. And don't misinterpret Matthew 24. That's talking about the tribulation time. The church is not involved there. So don't misinterpret that particular thing. But many believe that Israel is going to escape to a place called Petra. Now, that's a city that's carved out in stone and the rock. It's a place, though, that Satan knows, and I kind of doubt that that's where they're going to flee. But the point is that Israel is going to flee for 1,260 days into the wilderness. That's for a time, times, and half a time before Jesus returns. We could continue there in the book of Matthew, and we would see Jesus returning there. But let me just show you a picture of Petra. This is an ancient city that was established by the Edomites and the Nabateans. And you can see that it's a city that's all built up there in stone, and it's sitting there empty. A lot of visitors are visiting it these days because it's an interesting place to see. But there's more in the book of Revelation. Let's go to Revelation chapter 11. Revelation 11, starting with verse 2. Says, but the court which is without the temple leave out. A temple is there. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. Now we are beyond the time of the early 70 weeks. God has given us the answer as to what this weeks is in the last week. So we're kind of peeking over there, and we'll be studying the last week in our next study. But anyway, it's for 42 months. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. This is something that we have fun with in the book of Revelation. And they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Again, we have another description of the same period of time, 42 months. 42 months with 1,260 days. Again, that's a 30-day month, and there's 3.5 years, 42 months amounts to. So, let me just say, I hope I haven't made it too complicated, but we've got 360 days is for each of these weeks that we're dealing with. So remember what we're talking about, and let's go back to Daniel chapter 9 and verse 24. 70 weeks or 70 360 year or 360 day. Excuse me, that's not right either. A week is 7 of the 360. So 70 weeks is 70 times 2520. Remember, a whole week is double that 1260. So 70 times 2520 are determined upon thy people, that is, upon Daniel's people, the Jews, and upon the holy city, Jerusalem, to finish the transgressions, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. He's given us a list here of what's going to happen. Finish the transgression, end of sins, make reconciliation for iniquity. All of this stuff is when the 10 toes are smashed. I hope we're getting this together now. I know you're going to have to reread this to understand it, but I hope you understand it better from me than Gabriel did to Daniel. But remember what it's talking about. When does all of this happen? And when does it end? I can tell you when it ends. It ends with that final week. All right. And let's continue at this point. And remember, Daniel 70 weeks, the book of Revelation and the book of Matthew all tell the same events. Of course, Revelation and Matthew are talking about the 70th of these, and we're talking about the ones before that in this study. So let's go back to Daniel, but we're going to go to chapter 12. We're going to cheat just a little bit and look ahead. It says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, that great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. Michael's one that stands up for Israel. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And we're talking about that final week. That's when they will all study, and that's for our study next time. We're skipping ahead to a few verses here just to make sure we've got our time straight. So let's go to chapter 12, verse 7. Again, we're trying to make sure that we understand what this 360 is all about. And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, which he held up in his right hand and his left hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and half a time, and when they shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. They're all going to be over. Now, God has established 70 times 7, and the sevens are talking about periods that we'll call years, but they're 360-day years. And so 7 of those 360 years is 2,520 days. Oh, I hope you've got that. I hope I hadn't made it too complicated. The weeks are 2,520 days. All right? Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah. Now listen to this. Know therefore and understand. This is the verse right after verse 24 that we read, that there are 70 groups of sevens that are going to be accomplished. 70 groups of 7 or 70 weeks. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. 7 plus 62, 62 is 62, plus 7 is 69. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 69 weeks, 69 groups of 7 years. The street shall be built again, and the wall in troublous times. Now, this is some difficult algebra that we have to come up with, but the terminology is consistent between the Old and New Testament. And remember, Daniel didn't have the New Testament to go by, but he could have the book of Genesis to develop this 360 day year that we're talking about. And there are 7 groups of 360, which is 2,520 days each, to establish, to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah. That's until Jesus comes. There are this many days. And we're building something that's really important here. The Jews should know when the Messiah is coming, because Daniel is giving him specific time. And we're not talking about the building of the temple here. We're talking about building the walls and the streets of Jerusalem. So, to do that, we have to go to the book of Nehemiah. Many preachers go to the book of Ezra, which is when God had Cyrus command that they build a temple. But that's not what this is talking about. They're building the walls and the streets of Jerusalem. That we have from Nehemiah. So, and I'll tell you very quickly that the book of Nehemiah is in the year 444 BC. Let's go to the book of Nehemiah. It says, and the words of Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah, and it came to pass in the month of Chislev, that's in the month of December, that would have been in the year before what we're talking about, that would be year 445 BC, in the 20th year of Shushan, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the palace, and Hanani, one of my brethren, came, he and certain men of Judah, and I asked them concerning the Jews that had escaped, that is, the Jews that had gone back out of captivity, had gone back to Jerusalem to build the temple, concerning the Jews that had escaped, which were left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. Verse 3. And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province of are in great affliction and reproach. And the wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof burned with fire. So, approximately December, Nehemiah gets the report that things are not so good over there in Jerusalem. The temple was built, and it was sitting over there, but things were a mess all around it. It was a slum. And Nehemiah, like Daniel, was in the king's palace. He was in a good spot. And he thought about this situation until about April. So we go on over to chapter 2 of the book of Nehemiah. And it came to pass in the month of Nisan, which would be March or April roughly, of the 20th year of Artaxerxes. That would have moved it from 445 to 444. We moved the year there because we passed December into January and so forth. We're into March and April, 444. In the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king, that wine was before him, and I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been before time sad in his presence. Now we've got the cupbearer. This is Nehemiah. He's the cupbearer. And he's sad. And the king sees that he's sad. Now, that's not a good thing. The king is trusting the cupbearer to bring him good wine that's not poisoned. And so here he's got his cupbearer sad. Why are you sad? Is this wine okay? Well, Nehemiah probably hadn't had breakfast that morning. Going over to verse 5 of this, says, And I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if thy servant, that is Nehemiah, if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me to Judah and to the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may build it. He's told the king that why shouldn't he be sad? All these things are torn down. And then down to verse 8 says, And the king granted me, here's the command, and the king granted me according to the good hand of my God unto me. Again, the temple had been built, and it was time to start counting. Understand what we saw back there in verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem, not the temple, but the city, unto Messiah, until Jesus comes, the prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, or 69 weeks, and the streets will be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And indeed, Nehemiah had troublous times as he went back to get that. Get the picture together. We need to assemble all of these things to calculate this. I know it's complicated, but there are 69 weeks. The 70th one we're going to talk about next week. But look at what he said there again. From the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem, 444 BC. Nisan, 44 BC. Remember, Nisan is when you have Passover. Jesus died in Passover. From the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. 69 weeks total. So, from there, we should be able to calculate. Remember, a week is 2,520 days, and 69 of those is what we're dealing with to make our calculation. All right? So, 69 times 2,520 days is from that command is when Jesus is going to come. 69 times 2,520 gives us 173,880 days. And if we take that and put it into our years, 365 and a quarter. Remember, we every 4 years we add a day. We have add a day in February. We have a 29th day of February. That's the reason for the 365 and a quarter days. You divide that out, and that comes out to be 476 years and 21 days. Now, I have to tell you that my quarter is a rounded off number, and I see pastors with all kinds of numbers where they spread that number out, and the 21 days becomes somewhere between 21 and 25, depending on exactly where they round it off. So I hope you understand the calculations that we are making here. And let's go on into verse 26. It says, and after 62 weeks, that is after the 62, which had 7 weeks before that, a total of 69, after the 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. Now, we're not talking about when Jesus is born. We're talking about when Jesus dies. Okay? And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Now, don't take all of that verse. Just take the first part of it, because the latter part of it is next week. Anyway, Messiah is going to be cut off after the 62 weeks, which had 7 before it. So after 69 weeks, that is 476 years and some days. Let's take year 444 and subtract 476, and it comes to year 32 AD. One problem with that is there was no year 0, so we had to add a year to that, so it comes to year 33 AD, and that is the year that we believe Jesus died. Now, you will hear many preachers that will come down and give you the exact day that all of this happened. Now, from the best I can see, to get to that exact day, they had to back calculate from the time of Jesus' death and so forth, back from the Passover, back to the year 444, to come up with what date the starting date was. The best we have in Scripture is that it happened in Nisan. It happened in the month of the Passover. So I'm not going to give you a specific day, but you will find many pastors that do. And I don't say they're wrong. I just see that various pastors come up with different starting dates, and I also see that we're not given a starting date, so I'm not going to give you one. So I don't come up with the exact date, but we know it's very close because it was started in Nisan, and it comes out to the year that Jesus died on the cross, which is what we're prophesied. Now, I hope you marvel at our God. He knows all these things from beginning to end. He's given us the exact year that Jesus died. And he's given it to us many years before that happened, 476 years. And Jesus didn't die for his own benefit. He died for us. Daniel chapter 9, verse 26 again says, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. Jesus made the benefit of going to heaven for you and for me, because the punishment for sin is death. Jesus going to the cross paid that price for you and for me. Remember the guy on the cross next to Jesus. There were two, one on each side. One begged Jesus to remember him when he got to his. Jesus says, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." Jesus accepted him. And he tells us in Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 10, says that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. Jesus accepted the thief because he believed. He will accept you if you really believe. Thank you for being with me. I hope I didn't make this overly complicated, but it is a complicated measurement. Thank you again for being with me.